Right out the gates, I can already tell. I made a huge mistake. I should not have gotten before streaming. Big mistake. Very large, but it's fine. We'll power through it. And we got Enchant Worldle and Spellify to do. And I might even put on music if you're good. I'll put on music in general. Because you are good. You're the best chat. Hey, I think we've got the best community across the internet. And then everybody claps. Everybody claps. Everybody claps. Because that's you. 3 mana. 3 mana and uncommon black or green. Not enchantment of creature. 3 mana uncommon victimize. 3 mana uncommon black card. 3 mana uncommon black instant execute. Slay. It's slay. Yes. Woo! You know, some people ask me, do you ever get tired of being the GOAT?
Well, Ben Wheeler, abusing magic.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
It's just that easy. It's just that easy. Here. Because you're so good, I'll put on some Mozart. Is this going to be incredibly loud right out the gate? Please don't be incredibly loud right out the gate. Oh, yeah, that's considerably loud right out the gate. How's that volume, chat? Yeah, this card rules. 3 mana destroy a green creature, draw a card. Execute is 3 mana destroy a white creature, draw a card. Pretty good. Yeah, it draws a card. What more do you need? Spellify. A green creature with multiple pips. Something of... something? Force of Nature? No, Force of Nature has totally different stat line. Oh. Profit Dad. Thank you for the 560 bits. That's very kind of you. My bits are empty. Glad of it. It always feels good when you empty your bits, you know? I mean, that's an of, right? Yeah. So it's not Force of Nature. Whenever... I assume this is whenever? Oh, it's not. It's a something warrior. This is whenever. Champion of Ronus. CHAMPIONOFRH. Oh, it's not. Shit. It's not Champion of Ronus. Champion fits, though. Champion of Lampholt? Human Warrior? I feel like it's Champion of Lampholt. Yeah. Yeah, alright. Right, Champeronus is 3 and a green, not 2 green. Easy money. Easy money. Spellify. Big fun game. I like the addition of Spellify to the routine. It's fun. And remember when I got Hanged Man? Or Hangman? And Sibwa was like, you're not getting this? Oof. I mean, that was a good day for everybody involved. Sierra Drinks Water, welcome back for the 30th month. Egg. And a merry egg to you too. Thank you so much for the support. Jan Milantu, back for the 4th month as well. Howdy, partner. Hey, how you doing? Thank you for the support. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Howdy indeed. All right. Here's the 411 chat. I'm going to be talking about my exclusive... Hold on. Let me get on the YouTuber voice. I'm going to be talking about my exclusive OTJ preview card. But only when it shows up in the order. Because we go Wooburg. Don't worry. It's blue. it's a blue card. And we'll get to it in a second here. I like the build-up. We'll get there very quickly. Long story short, we're going through Wooburg. Going to be talking about cards that are playable in Canadian Highlander, Gladiator, or if they're just cool stuff to play. If they're just cool cards, or if the artwork's neat. That kind of thing. What are the rules of this? No lab man explaining. Don't talk about extremely niche scenarios and actually people in the same word. It's unbelievable. Don't do that. If you want me to skip a card, it costs $5. If you want me to go back to a card, it costs $5. If you want me to talk about any Magic card, it's $5. Except for the preview card. I will not skip the preview card for any less than $500. You could talk me down to $300. Let's start. Because we got some cool new cards. We also have some cards that are not super new and cool. But let's start with the most wheeler card of the set, frankly. Claim Jumper. Great name, by the way. Good pun. Get it? Because it's a claim jumper is an actual term. But this is a rabbit and rabbits jump. Haha. 2 and a white for a 3/3 rabbit mercenary with vigilance. When Claim Jumper enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you can search your library for a plains card and put it into play tapped. Then, if an opponent controls more lands than you, repeat this process once. If you search your library this way, shuffle. This card is messed up. Chubby Bunny Twitch. Yo, rabbits, let's go. Very appropriate. Hell yeah. Love that they're printing more rabbit cards. Obviously, well, not obviously, but you know, we can figure that there are going to be rabbits in Bloomborough. This card has a lot of good going for it. It is, I mean, 3-mana 3/3 vigilance. Not the end of the world if you're opposing this card, but still big enough and annoying enough that you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with this. The mana cost is easy to hit. It's got Ancient Tomb mana, which is pretty important. And then the fact that you can find any planes, not just basic planes. You find any planes, a planes card. So you can find dual lands if you want to. You can find, I mean, I guess you can find Idyllic Range, but it's not really going to do anything because it comes into play tapped. But you can find some duels. You can get your Mist Meadow, whatchamacallit, Mistvale Plains. You can grab a Surveil land, which is going to be pretty strong. Yeah, you can do a whole bunch. And God forbid, like in 1v1, it is going to be a different story entirely. Like, I don't know if this card is going to really cut it up in 1v1. Maybe in like a white-green X deck where like, or a mono, maybe the mono white like Ruin Your Evening style deck that we played in Gladiator. But yeah, this is in Commander, this is absurd. Because it's just like, oh, well, this person has, you know, this person's always going to have more lands than you. So I'm gonna ramp off this green player or whatever. It's huge. The fact that you can do it twice is just so wild. It's like, oh, a catch-up mechanic. And then you're like, oh, I'm still not caught up? Well, now I'm caught up. That's huge. Big card for Ameria enjoyers. Yeah, I haven't gotten to my preview card. You'll know. We just got to get into the flow of things, you know? My preview card does make sense. It's big artifact. Well, I mean, you'll see. Dust Animus. 1 and a white for a 2/3 spirit with flying. If you control 5 or more untapped lands, Dust Animus enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it and a lifelink counter. And you can plot for 1 and a white. This card, the floor of this card is it's a 2 mana 2/3 flyer with a somewhat relevant creature type. You know, it's not like a bird. Spirits are things. Being able to plot this early and then just cast this as a free 4/4, or sorry, a free 4/5 flying lifelinker is huge. Just playing this early is already enough to like pressure planeswalkers, kind of gums up the board a bit. Yeah, this card is very good. God forbid you draw it like later on too, right? Like, you need the 5 or more untapped lands, so you would need 7 to just play it. But I mean, like, weaving in a deck like White Weenie or Spirits or whatever, finding points where you can expend mana and then like also keep up a cheap interactive spell without committing more to the board or too much on your own turn, and then just getting a big payoff later. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressed with this card. I don't know if it's going to show up in Highlander, mostly because 5 or more untapped lands is a bit tough. Yes, I'm saying invest in the future. For the love of God, invest in the future. This isn't actually a triggered ability. It's a replacement effect. So Delny would not do anything with this. So it says if you control it, it enters with the counters. There's no actual triggered ability here, which is pretty nice. That also means that like if you do meet the requirement and it comes into play, they can't lightning bolt it in response or lightning strike or whatever. It's just, it's a big ass. God forbid. I mean, the red decks have Witch Stalker's Frenzy in in standard, but also, you know, it shows up in Gladiator. It is nice that the 3 toughness gets around, or the 5 toughness gets around the like molten impacts and whatnot. Not the new card, but that's fine. Yeah, I think this card is overall solid. It's going to be a little awkward, you know, there's going to be some growing pains in finding where this card is going to like thrive, I guess is what I'm saying. Fell the Mighty. This is a reprint. It's a 5 mana Wrath. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. This one, it's a little awkward because you have a Wrath that isn't going to kill the entire board and can do not a huge amount against a bunch of tokens. Has to be greater too. So if you're facing down like a legion of like 1/1s or 2/2s, then you're in a bad spot. Tumblewag is a great word and a great little critter. I don't think this card is like for Wrath of Gods in Gladiator, which is where this is going to be relevant, or where like it's worth talking about this card. We have so many 4 mana Wraths, and then when you get to the 5 and 6 mana ones, they stop being Wrath of Gods and they start just being like planar cleansings, which is pretty nice. So I don't think this is going to cut it, but you know, it's a neat card. It's a commander card. Zeradin, welcome to the stream. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. We've talked about all these cards. Ooh. This is a cool one being brought to Arena. Journey to Nowhere. 1 and a white, enchantment. ETB's exile target creature, and when it leaves play, you return the exile card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This card, if you haven't played with it, it is so much better than you could ever think. 2 mana, just get rid of any creature. Beautiful. The fact that this is a triggered ability as well means that you can, say, sacrifice this with the first trigger on the stack, and then that creature is exiled permanently. It's a great hit for Enchantress, for the Enigmatic Incarnation kind of decks. Like, this card is great. It's, yeah, shockingly powerful. You look at it and you're just like, okay, cool. 2 mana, exile any creature. That's pretty good. That's already pretty good. But once you start to realize that you can just get a little freaky with it. Oh yeah. There's a new Leyline Binding, but we already have Leyline Binding. So, you know, what are you going to do? I don't even remember this one. Mystical Tether. 3 mana enchantment. You may cast it as though it had flash if you pay 2 more. And the ETBs, you exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls. Banishing Lights are kind of funny. There was a while where you're just playing every Banishing Light on like that you can find basically in blue-white, and I imagine some number of those cards are still sticking around. Pull from the Mist Moon is a very good Magic card, but that's less Banishing Light and more just like telling your opponent they're not going to get to stick around, stick a creature, you know. So it's hard to find it's hard to find room for more copies of that style of effect nowadays, because it's just like you get a couple of them, you maybe get one or two, and there are just, why are we playing this one over the other ones? The flash part is interesting, but I imagine, you know, there are Enchantress builds that just play every single Banishing Light, and that's their whole jam, and you know, really punishes people that are not running Enchantment Disruption, and this can find a home in there, but that's it. That's it. Oh yeah, we talked about the Interrupter before. Good card. Ooh. Nurturing Pixie. Actually, before I talk about this card, I gotta tell you, I think this is some of the most incredible art in the set. No, you'll know the preview card when I get to it. We're going to get to it very quickly. Don't worry. I'm just letting people trickle in. I don't want to do it and then have to spend... I will deal with the 10 minutes of people being like, is this the preview card? Ideally, I'll deal with that instead of dealing with people being like, oh, I missed the preview card. Oh, I didn't show up on time. Yeah, this card's gorgeous. Nurturing Pixie. 1 white for a 1/1 fairy rogue with flying. When it ETBs, return up to 1 target non-fairy, non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If a permanent was returned this way, put a 1/1 counter on Nurturing Pixie. This card rules. Cheap evasive threat. You don't have to return a thing if you don't want to. Not being able to return a land makes some of the play patterns with this a little like, it would be cool if you could play the Pixie and then return a land and then play that as your land for the turn. And then, wow, we're really pod racing now. We're playing low cost cards, excuse me. But that's fine. That's just inventing a whole other card. The Pixie, pretty good. Just being able to refresh any of your ETBs, being able to give a card kind of pseudo vigilance. Yeah, there's a lot going on with this card beyond 1 mana, 2 power flyer, which is in and of itself pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. Omenport Vigilante. 2 mana, 2/2, double strike. You commit a crime this turn. Cool artwork. Very cool artwork. But, you know, doesn't do too much. 1 last job. 2 and a white for a sorcery with Spree. +2, you return target creature card from your graveyard to play. +1, you return a mount or vehicle from your graveyard to play. +1, return an artifact, or sorry, an aura or equipment. This is very expensive. This is a cool commander card. I do not believe that this will be worthwhile in many or any Gladiator decks. I mean, you can maybe make an argument of the like white, blue, or like Jeskai kind of like artifacts matter decks where, you know, you can pay 4 mana to get back your Embercleave or I mean, get back a Nettle Cyst, get back, I guess getting back a Colossus Hammer is something that you can do. You can hammer time people into the dirt with this card. Or 5 mana for a Resurrection. You know, it's expensive. The thing about this card is that it's expensive. There is a deck that has access to some extra mana and tends to play all the card types mentioned here. Whether or not it wants to slot in this as its like big mana value card is a different story, especially when you have so many planeswalkers and you already have some powerful recursive pieces in that deck, but this is an option. It's kind of nice to have these options, you know? And like, yeah, if you're all in on Colossus Hammer and stuff, then great. The medic, we don't need to talk about that. They reprinted Pariah. 3 mana, enchant creature. All damage would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. Combine Pariah with Stuffy Doll. Or I guess for us, Brash Taunter. Bam. That's an old school combo right there. That right there is an old school combo. Unbeatable. Unbeatable on the kitchen tables. Unbeatable on the recess bleachers. Just incredible stuff. Prairie Dog. 2 mana, 2/2 light. Wait, hold on. A squirrel? Are prairie dogs related to squirrels? Oh, they are squirrels. Oh, today I learned. I always assumed that prairie dogs... Now, in my defense, I always assumed that prairie dogs were closer to marmots. Marmots are also ground squirrels. Oh, fuck. I forgot all about it. Are you telling me a groundhog is a squirrel? It is. It's a ground squirrel. I even owned ground squirrels. I owned Degus, the Chilean ground squirrel. So take a look at this marmot. Name one other Magic stream where you'll just take a marmot break. I mean, I guess there's probably some Australians or New Zealanders that have a Marmite break, but this is ridiculous. Look at this. Look at this fella. Hell yeah. Yeah, learning rules. Anyways, 2 mana, 2/2 lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, you put a 1/1 counter on Prairie Dog. 5 mana until end of turn. If you would put 1 or more counters on a creature you control, put that many +1 on it instead. So, God, I wish this card came out like 5 years ago. I would have played the crap out of this card. In like the worst blue-white, like, or Bant flash deck you've ever seen. Like, this might still show up, right? Like, 2 mana, 2/2 lifelink is a pretty powerful speed bump against the aggressive decks, specifically the red ones. And then just like playing this on turn 2 and then holding up mana for your Brazen Borrower, Spell Queller, Vendilion Clique, even Interceptor, or whatever the new card's called. Like, that's a play pattern that is totally reasonable. You just got a 3/3 lifelinker? It would be... This card falls into the category of... I wouldn't necessarily recommend playing this if your primary objective is winning as many matches of Magic the Gathering as possible. But that is not the primary objective of a majority of the player base. And so instead, I would say, clown around with this, and I am absolutely going to lose to this card. That's my take, is I'm going to lose to this card. There's no way I'm not losing this card. Also, Samu, apologies. I didn't see your sub. Back for the 29th month. Let's go. Been loving your Cub streams. I think I'm a bit too... I've moved past being a Cub. But I appreciate the support and the kind words. Thank you so much. And Quizak Scrivener for the 15th month. Welcome back. Glad to have you. Good to see you. How you doing? It's a long-ass time. Thank you for all the support. We talked about all these... I don't think it got in the video for... if you weren't aware, ta-da! We are doing a hashtag not a PPR, but I mean kind of a PPR. It's called Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Outlaws of Thunder Junction pre-launch showcase. 10 a.m. this Friday. Twitch.tv/loading ready run. World first. Outlaws of Thunder Junction gameplay featuring Sealed and Draft and Commander. We did a pre-recorded draft, much like how we've done with the Commander Legends product and Double Masters, where... Oh, and well, actually the second Double Masters as well. Long story short, we did a draft. We recorded the draft part. We're going to play the matches live. I remember after the draft showing this to Adam and being like, dude, check out this card. And he was like, holy shit. Because this is effectively 8 mana worth of cards, right? You pay 5 mana and you get, if you get a 3-drop back to your hand, great. But if you like, there are a bunch of mounts that you can play, and especially in green-white, there's like green-white mount stuff. So like 5 mana to get a 4/3 flying vigilance that also brings back like a usually a beefy-ish creature is pretty hot. Big fan of this. I'm gonna play the crap out of this card in Commander, by the way. I mean, Ameria? You kidding me? It's a white card that returns something from the graveyard. Of course I'm playing it. Red Herring back for the 34th month. Can't wait for the Simic linings of the set. Oh, we've got a good one. Yeah, the Simic linings for the set is going to be incredible. Thank you for all the support. That's a long-ass time. It's not a PPR because it's not sealed only. I mean, kinda. It's also just not a PPR because we're not contracted for this, or rather the contract wasn't finalized. All stuff that we've talked about. I'm not breaking NDA. Saying that out loud to myself. What does my preview card begin with? Okay, we'll get there in a bit. We're almost there. Don't worry. Archive Trap. That's kind of funny. I mean, mill is not going to be a thing, but this is... I mean, not in Gladiator anyways, but this Archive Trap is kind of hot. Like this, there could be a genuine mill deck in Timeless. Like this could just kill people. Holy smokes. All right, very cool. New Archmage's Charm. I like this art quite a bit. Oh, it's protecting the little guy. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, very nice. Gotta protect the whatever this is. Oh, yeah. Archmage's Newt. This is a pretty good match card. 1 in a blue for a 2/2 Salamander Mount. Whenever Archmage's Newt deals combat damage to a player, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. That card gains flashback 0 until end of turn. Instead, if Archmage's Newt is saddled. So this is just a 2-mana 2/2 that if it hits them, you can flashback your Ponder, your Preordain. You can, for instance, Lightning Bolt their blocker, hit them for 2, and then flashback the Lightning Bolt and take out their tap creature that they thought they could get away with attacking. Or you Lightning Bolt their big creature, attack, they have to block with their 1/1 with their smaller creature, or they just take it and you have to commit to bolting it. Very cool play patterns on this card. God forbid you saddle this up. And then just like getting to cast larger cards for a lot of mana. Or larger cards that normally cost a lot of mana for 0. Pretty cool magic card. Saddle 3 is a relatively expensive saddle cost, but I don't actually think you need that. Like, Saddle 3 is here, but... I mean, I guess you could, like, play... there are play patterns where you could just, like, play a bigger creature on 3, immediately saddle up, and then Newt gets in for some damage, and then cast, like, the Thopter card, Intrude on the Mind or whatever. Like... that play pattern exists, is probably going to be pretty potent. But I don't know, the base level of 2-mana 2/2 that smacks them, give a thing flashback, totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. Yeah, actually, Cole makes a good point. You saddle a prowess creature after you cast the bolt, because this card is like, it's begging for you to play it in a deck with a high amount of instants and sorceries. And if you have prowess creatures that are kind of small normally, the prowess triggers can get the saddle, can increase the power to make saddling this card easier. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, cool card. Did I mention the crab? I believe I've mentioned this crab, right? The canyon crab, 2 mana 05. Yeah, I mentioned this crab. We joked about the crab. Oh shit. Commandeer. 7 mana instant. You may exile 2 blue cards from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Gain control of target non-creature spell. You can choose new targets. That's hilarious. I can't believe they gave us Commandeer. I will play Commandeer in Big Blue. Like, I will play this card in Big Blue. I might even consider playing this card in Blue-Eye Control. Mostly for the memes, but honestly, if you resolve a Commandeer, you're probably winning the game. Yeah, I could see this in like a big blue-green deck too. Like if there ends up being like a blue-green, like a Wilderness Reclamation style deck. Growth Spiral. We have a bunch of like, we have Mystic Snake and Drilled Mystic. Like yeah. There's some dungusing that we can do with this card. Yeah, flashback it for free with the Newt. I think we talked about the Homerid. We talked about the Double Down, the Duelist, the Emergent Haunting. Oh! Which means we are at the preview card. Is everybody ready? Is everybody ready for the preview card? No, can I wait a sec? Yeah, sure. Did I talk about the turtle? Give you 5? Can you go to the bathroom? Yeah, that's okay. What turtle? Oh, this one? It's just kind of a 4 mana 4/4. Okay. All right. You have to cook a risotto? What kind of risotto? Oh. Oh. All right, get ready. Chong. Why? It's Esoteric Duplicator. My hashtag free hashtag preview card from whatchamacallit. Also, if you're here to just like pilfer this card and then post it on Reddit, take the image that I'm going to post on Twitter instead. It'll just be a higher quality copy. Yeah, I'll link the tweet in chat. I know some of you are here to do that. Oops, too late. Oh, come on. Just take the extra second to get a high quality one. Not to mention, I haven't even shown you the extra ones. All right, let's talk about this card. 2 and a blue for an artifact clue. It says whenever you sacrifice Esoteric Duplicator or another artifact, you may pay 2 generic. If you do, at the beginning of the next end step, you create a token that's a copy of that artifact. And then it has pay 2 generic, sacrifice Esoteric Duplicator, draw a card. We got this artwork. We've got this artwork, the extended. Ooh. Yeah. Shit. I mean, shoot. I mean, we've got the extended artwork, and then we also have a fancy artwork. Big egg. All right, we're so safe. Glad of it. Fancy big egg. So the way that this works is that you sacrifice an artifact and then you pay the mana cost up front, and then you're going to get a copy of it at the beginning of your next end step. I'm a big proponent of suggesting that you should not play other cards to make broken cards more broken. But this does do some pretty cool stuff with KCI. With Card Clan Ironworks, you sacrifice an artifact for a mana ability, and you get 2 colorless at the beginning of the next end step. Yes, that's important. And you use that 2 colorless from the KCI to then pay for the triggered ability of Esoteric Duplicator. And then you get whatever death trigger or hit the graveyard trigger of the egg, and then you get an additional egg, which is pretty cool and good. Not to mention, you make a token that's a copy of it. And this card does not say non-token artifact. So you can sacrifice tokens and it will say, hey, you've sacrificed an artifact. Do you want a copy of it? So you can sacrifice your first artifact and then pay 2 and you make a token. And if you sacrifice the token, you can pay 2 to make a copy of the token. And as people in chat have pointed out, if I sacrifice my Mindslaver and then pay 2, I get another copy of Mindslaver. I take your turn, then we go back to my turn, and then I Mindslaver you with the token, and this will still trigger, and I can then make a copy of Mindslaver. So you can slaver lock people in Limited. You could do so in Gladiator. That's pretty cool. I will give this a shot in Highlander because it is a pretty powerful effect. This is a very powerful effect, albeit it doesn't have that immediacy that, you know, modern Magic players really need, but it's investing in your future. And God forbid you just use this in combination with cards that with Second Sunrises or Face Reward or, you know, any way of actually just getting the artifact back, because it doesn't exile the card. Like, it's just this card. I've been looking at this card, right, for like a month plus, and I've been looking at this card thinking like, it doesn't have exile, it doesn't have non-token. It's got so much going for it. And that's really cool. So, ta-da, Esoteric Duplicator. Big thanks to Wizards of the Coast for giving me a free preview card. And here's hoping for more, huh? Not just the cowboy set? Not just the egg in the cowboy set? Not just the big egg generator in the cowboy set? Yeah, I'll take anything. Please, I'm begging you. Please, I'm begging you. I'm desperate. I'm over here. I'll take anything you want. The joke about them giving me a reprint of Negate, I was just kidding. I was just goofing around. I was just kidding. I was having a ball. I was having a giggle. All right. Geyser Drake. 2 and a blue for a 2/3 flying Drake that says as long as it's not your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is a very funny card. I don't believe it's going to be playable in Gladiator or Highlander, but I just wanted to look at this because we've come so far from Wind Drake. I love a Wind Drake. 3 mana, 2/2 flyer, no other abilities. Big fan. Big fan. It is wild to me, and I understand that Wind Drakes have not really scaled super well into into current Magic standards, but it's wild to me that we are at a place in Limited where you look at the this 3 mana 2/3 flyer that reduces the cost of cards on your opponent's turn, and it's just like, oh, okay, great. Like, this is just where we're at with commons. That's wild to me. Ooh. Harrier Strix. 1 mana. We'll get to the jar. Don't you worry. 1 mana, 1/1 bird with flying. When it ETBs, you tap target permanent, and you can pay 2 and a blue to draw a card and then discard a card. This is a 1-mana crime. It's a bird crime. That's it. We have the 1-mana 1/1 flyer that taps us down a permanent as well. Network Disruptor. And then, but this gains a little, actually, Network Disruptor, I don't want to say this is a downside, because that's an artifact creature, which means that it can maybe find a home in a cheap, evasive artifact deck, or a deck that wants to slap, like, all that glitters on a creature or whatever. I am not. But this has, like, an added little loot, which is kind of nice. I don't think this card's going to see play, but I want to get this out there because it didn't hit me until deeper in the draft that this bird is a crime. It's just a 1-mana crime. Also, saying a bird is a crime is very funny. This card's expensive. We talked about mana drain. It's very funny. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Mindbreak Trap is getting a reprint. This is Sheriff Band's Rootin'. Is Tootin' next? This is a huge reprint. Yeah, this card was like $80 or something disgusting. And so now you get to play, if you've ever wanted to play CDH, congratulations. That's outdated terminology. It's instant transgender woman now. What? Oh, you fuck you. Oh, my favorite bit of my mods, painting me like a transphobe. Oh my god. This card's great. Like, it is... I don't think it will see much Gladiator play. 4 mana is a lot of mana. But it's better than it looks. Exile is pretty important. Occasionally, you'll find matchups where it costs 0. But I mean, this is just a better reprint for CDH and stuff like that. And the artwork is incredible. And the whatchamacallit, the flavor text is incredible too. Paint my mods as homophobes. All of my mods are homophobes. Have you seen that? They just beat up on me all day. Cool reprint. Talked about all of these. Not this. Phantom Interference. 1 blue for an instant with Spree. Pay 3. You make a 2/2 white spirit token with flying. And pay 1. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. So for 2 mana, you can just counter something unless they pay 2. What is it? Quench? You just quench them. And then for 5 mana, you get a 2/2 flash flyer that counters target spell unless they pay 2, which usually is just going to counter it because you got a bunch of mana up, they're going to tap out for their big thing, and you hit them with this. I think this card is likely better than it looks. Evaluation on this card is a little tough. But like the flexibility of this spell is pretty impressive, right? 4 mana flash 2/2 that just mucks somebody in combat. Great. 2 mana just counter their spell because they're playing on curve. Sure, why not? And then 5 mana, like, counter their planeswalker. Here's a 2/2 that can now block in combat or can attack their other planeswalker. And I think that's pretty sick. I think there's a lot going on here. The whole package, the flexibility of the card and like how much of a gotcha it can be leads me to believe that this card will be worth trying out. Giving it a shot. Yeah. Don't underestimate. Magic players tend to do 2 things. 1, underestimate flexibility. And 2, overvalue flexibility. They tend to look at cards going, why would I want to play this? And it's like, well, because it does different things at different points in the game, and all of those things that it's going to do are going to be beneficial for you and tend to line up well with, your typical play patterns in Magic the Gathering. And getting to choose which part of this card you want to cast is huge, right? But then also you look at it and you're like, but just because it does a bunch of different things doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be worth including this card over a more powerful card that does exactly one or two things very well. So it's a card to keep your eyes on, for sure. But I don't know. I hold this in pretty high regard, I think. Acacia Law back for the 6th month. Cowboy, I hardly know him. Oh, what? Repulse? Ooh. Wait, was Repulse always on Arena? Has Repulse always been on Arena? Why do I feel like this card is already on Arena? It was in Jumpstart, right? Historic Horizons? I thought this card was. I love Repulse. Oh, we had... Right. Yes. Okay, so we don't have this one yet. Hell yeah. I dreamed it again. I mean, I think of Repulse quite a bit. This card has gotten a lot worse. But this is... I love this card so much. It is such a beating. And for what it's worth, we are starting... There are some shifts in the type of cards that see play, the type of creatures that see play, in that truly the scariest cards are not ones with ETBs. They are just cards that are so devastating on the board, and they're like a must answer. I mean, there are still quite a bit of ETBs. Repulse is not, it's not like finally we fixed the format. But I'm going to include this card in so many bad decks, and I'm going to draft the crap out of this card. This is going to be my just scoop up every Repulse I can find. God, I love Repulse. It feels so good. Seize the Secrets. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. The spell costs 1 less to cast if you committed a crime this turn. Draw 2 cards. This card's not actually that bad when you look at it. It reads closer to something like Chart a Course or Of One Mind than something like a more traditional divination. You kind of have to look at this card as though you are playing like a tempo deck or a spell-oriented deck where you're like, duress you, cast this. Bolt your creature, seize the secrets. Like, clear your board, draw some cards, and then just like carry on. And that's pretty neat. I feel like this isn't going to go into every version of those decks, but if you're looking for extra card draw that is pretty easy to get going, and like a divination on like turn 4 or whatever, or not turn 4, a divination later in the game is like not the end of the world, even if you can't reduce the cost on this. Yeah, pretty cool card. Talked about this card, talked about this card, talked about this card. Splasher, step. Stoic Sphinx. 2 and 2 blue for a 5/3 Sphinx with flash and flying. Stoic Sphinx has hexproof as long as you haven't cast a spell this turn. This card is pretty good. At least the turn after you play it. This card is really bad the turn you play it. But even then, end of turn, flash out this card, dodging a lot of the sorcery speed removal that people are going to be playing, like the red-based sorcery speed removal. Obviously, still vulnerable to lightning bolts, Swords of Plowshares, Path to Exile. God, I'm going to play so many Jeskai decks. You know, it gets hit by Torch the Tower or whatever, but it manages to get around the Molten Impacts and the Mephit's Enthusiasms and all those cards, which is kind of nice. And then you just untap and smack them for 5, and you don't do anything. It is kind of funny though that like the mind games that come with this card. It's pretty interesting. I can see a mono blue or a blue X like mid-range deck, like maybe even Blue White Skies. I could see playing this card. As like a top end, because this just kills people very quickly, and if they can't deal with it, like, you just ignore what they're doing. Right? It's just like, oh, They're casting a big spell.
After 10,000 years, I'm free. It's time to conquer Earth.
Hudra, thank you for the $5 donation. Long time no see. Glad to be back. Anyways, can you talk about Death Bonnet Sprout for a bit? Thanks. Yeah, no worries. Just 1 second. Thank you for the $5. Okay. So Death Bonnet Sprout is a 1-mana 1/1. It's a fungus creature. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you mill a card. Then if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you transform Death Bonnet Sprout. And it turns into Death Bonnet Hulk, which is a 3/3 that says at the beginning of your upkeep, you can exile a card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, you put a 1/1 counter on Death Bonnet Hulk. They grow up so fast. Pretty good flavor text here. It's subtle. It's straightforward. It's got some humor in it, but it makes sense. Very big. The fact that you do not target with the exile as well can really start to muck people. Like you can muck their graveyard. You don't even necessarily have to exile a creature. But you can just make your Hulk grow. I mean, it's going to get pretty large pretty quickly. And it's going to transform pretty easily in the Dredge decks. There are a bunch of different Dredge decks that you can play in Gladiator. And there are some more aggressive ones that are going to play cards like this to get the big idiot online as quickly as possible. So big ups to Death Bonnet Sprout. Big ups to Death Bonnet Hulk. They're doing their best, and we love them here. And especially Hudra. Hudra loves them more than most. Let's put that over there. Yeah. Ooh. Take the Fall. 1 blue instant. Target creature gets -1/-0 until end of turn. And if target creature gets -1/-0 until end of turn. It gets -4/-0 until end of turn if you control an outlaw. Assassins, mercs, pirates, rogues, warlocks, or outlaws. Draw a card. This card is absurd, right? Like, this card is just going to kill. Okay, so maybe my evaluation of this card, not for Gladiator, mind you, or Highlander, but I think about this card in Limited, and it's just going to blow out so many combat steps. It's a 1-mana card that is a crime that even if you don't have the outlaw, so much of Magic the Gathering is like designed around the stats printed on the cards. Thank you so much. That's the most that's the most sagely advice I can extend. Is cards are designed a very specific way with a very specific stat line, and even the slightest shift in it can help you win combat. This one draws a card, and so it's just a low cost of inclusion, replaces itself, cheap to cast, and it synergizes with all these different things in this set. 1, committing crimes. 2, having outlaws. And 3, casting 2 spells in 1 turn. Because this is a super cheap one that then lets you cast your second one. So yeah, pretty cool card. Pretty cool magic card. Honestly, if this shows up in like a blue X like tempo deck, because you need more cheap cards like this, I wouldn't be that surprised. This wasn't Zendikar Rising. There's Timely Interference, which was from Dominaria that drew a card that was quite good. But also, I'm talking about this for the limited environment. Oh, Chilling Trap. But that one said that was 1 mana, target creature gets -4/-0. If you control a wizard, draw a card. This one always draws a card. That one you had to have a wizard to draw a card. That's unplayable. This just draws a card and synergizes with 3 different things in the set. That's pretty cool. Evil Jin, I did see that message. I will get back to you about it. Oh no, what is it? Control Shift? God bless. I will get back to you about it. Also, oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw it right before I went live. But I will get back to you about it. Yes, we talked about the preview card. You can find it on Twitter. You can find it on Twitter. Twitter.com. Because it's not called X. Well, we've already talked about these cards. On to black. Talked about these cards. Ooh. Blood Hustler. 2-mana 1/1 Vampire Rogue. Whenever you commit a crime, put a 1/1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn, and you can pay 4. Target opponent loses 1, you gain 1. This is I mean, committing a crime's not that difficult. Once per turn, it won't let us have any fun. I don't think this is good enough for Vamps, unfortunately. Yeah, those cards are so big. They are so large. Why are the playing cards... Wait, hold on. Why are the playing cards on the board so massive? I mean, I like the art. What if she's just a tiny lady? And we love her for that. New card for Erebos? Oh, this is such a slow way to kill someone. Even for Erebos. Even for Death by 1,000 Stings. The Balatro Universes Beyond. Please save me from Balatro. Caustic Bronco. 1 and a black for a 2/2 Snake Horse Mount. Whenever Caustic Bronco attacks, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's mana value if Caustic Bronco isn't saddled. Otherwise, each opponent loses that much life. Holy smokes. I've talked about the Painseer story, right? Have I mentioned the Painseer story? So there's this card from Born of the Gods called Painseer. 1 and a black for a 2/2 human wizard with Inspired. When it becomes untapped, you reveal the top card of your library, put that card in your hand, you lose life equal to its mana value. So it's like a Bob, but it's a Bob with Inspired. And when this card came out, people were excited for this card in Highlander, in Canlander. I'm like, nah, this card's bad. Like, it takes so long for you to draw a card. Just play Dark Confidant. And Chris Sutherland was like, no, I think this card's really good. And I said, tell you what, Chris, let's have a bet. I bet that you cannot win a tournament with Painseer in your deck or for the entire year. You have 1 year to do it. If you do it, you get $10. If you don't, you got to give me $10. I think it ended up being buying each other a beer or, you know, whatever. But Chris was like, yeah, I'll take that bet. Literally the next tournament, Chris is in the finals with his Painseer deck. Unfortunately, he is fighting me in the finals with a deck that does not have Painseer. And I beat him, but I beat him in a very close, honestly, don't remember deserving to win kind of match. And I remember being like, oh, I just gave away $10 for no reason. He then proceeds to not win a tournament with Painseer for the entire year. So anytime there's a bad Bob, air quotes, I'm a little suspect. The fact that this is just on attack, though, and that you have, it's a 2/2, it's on attack, it can get around the life loss if you really want to saddle it. Like, this card is good. I think this card's very good. Like, attack, get your Fatal Push off the top, and you're like, oh, Fatal Push. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's faster than Painseer, for sure. Powerful magic card. Corrupted Convictions back. Bad removal. Reprint. Cards we talked about. Card that's already here. Ooh. Hollow Marauder. 6 and a black for a 4/2 Spectre Rogue. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your graveyard. Dredge players. It's a 4/2 flyer, and when it ETBs, any number of target opponents each discard a card. For each of those that didn't discard a card with mana value 4 or greater, you draw a card. I don't know why it draws a card, but yeah, I think I like this card. Like paying 3 mana for this. 3 mana for a 4/2 flyer that makes them discard a card. And then if they did not discard what is typically going to be the most impactful, big, bombastic card in their hand, you get to draw a card. Yeah, it's pretty good. 7 mana is a lot, right? Like, again, I'm talking about a deck that it's obsessed with filling its graveyard, which is where you're the only place you're really going to want to play this. But it is nice that that deck has an evasive ability, you know? One of the things with the Dredge deck that I found was that there wasn't a huge amount of evasion. You just kind of you just realize that every creature you have is the Abyss, and sometimes that's enough, and sometimes you're like, wow, I am losing to a Terror of the Peaks or anything that is just like pounding me in the air. There's got to be a better way of wording that, Ben. But yeah, this card does this card has an existing archetype that it can slide into, and it does something pretty powerful. No, we're talking about Gladiator, Canadian Highlander, occasionally Commander, or like, I don't know, cool stuff. Like if it's a cool card, I'll talk about a cool card. Imp's Mischief. 1 in black for an instant. Change the target spell with a single target. You lose life equal to that spell's mana value. Rude Rascal Robs Rubes Robes. Good flavor text. Is Modern not cool? Well, not right now. It's not. Have you seen it? Modern's in a bit of a tough spot right now. This card's not great. I mean, it's a popular card. I imagine this card is like somewhat pricey due to Commander, or was somewhat pricey. And it's pretty reasonable now. It's a cool Commander card. I don't like Scion of Draco. No, I gotta tell you, not a huge fan of the idea of just playing Leyline and Scion and then still just losing to Amulet or Yawgmoth. Pretty cool. I mean, I like combo decks too. What if you ask me what 2 decks I'd be playing in Modern, or frankly, the 2 decks that I was playing in Modern before I stopped, they were Titan and Yawgmoth. Also, the music is still going. It's just when Beethoven was writing his 9th symphony, he was like, I'm going to troll everybody. I'm just going to it's just going to be very quiet, a nice hum, damn near silence, as we just set up. Oh no, I broke it. Now they're singing. See, look at them go. Look at them go. Damn Beethoven. I have seen the Kragenwick Cremator deck. That's pretty funny. These cards are... Oh, I got 2 of them here. This card and this style of card, I'm always shocked at how mid they are in practice. So this is Mourner's Surprise. 1 in a black for a sorcery. You return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You make a 1/1 red mercenary token that has the tap. Give something +1/+0. Because it's effectively a 2 mana 1/1 that rebuys a creature. And they can get away with that because the card itself is not a creature. So you're not looping like Cadaver Imps or Gravediggers or whatever. It's, you know, for the sake of limited. we got one of these in Brothers War that can also return an artifact. I think. Did we get one of these that makes a 1/1 construct? I think it was Brothers War. Did we skip Lively Dirge? We've talked about Lively Dirge. Yeah. I don't know. I wish these cards... Emergency Weld. That's what it is. Thank you, Wayward Run. Yeah, these cards always feel like they should be much better than they are. And I like to keep tabs on them. But, you know, because maybe we get a large enough density that it's worthwhile having. But they're kind of interesting. And then Nezumi Linkbreaker. 1 mana, 1/1 Rat Warlock. When Nezumi Linkbreaker dies, you make a 1/1 red mercenary token. So this is just a... What if my 1 mana, 1/1 died and replaced itself with another 1/1, but that 1/1 had some additional ability? This card's great. Yeah, it's another 1 mana, 1/1 that when it dies, it replaces itself. And it's in black. That's pretty important. A lot of these cards are not black. They tend to be... White has the highest density of them. And so it's, you know, it's nice to have one in the primary color of Aristocrats. Can I talk about this card again? Okay, very quickly. People are hyping this up as though it's cracked and broken. I don't believe that to be the case. It is expensive. You can assemble 2-card combos with it. Obviously, finding Amalia and Wild Growth Walker is pretty sick. Or getting some Samwise combo setup is pretty cool. But yeah, it's just expensive. And, you know, telegraphed and all that. 5 mana get Shieldred is also pretty good. Yeah, card's fine. It's a 3 mana Entomb, though. Holy shit, they reprinted Overwhelming Forces? 8 mana sorcery. Destroy all creatures target opponent controls. Draw cards for each creature card destroyed this way. This is a reprint from P3K. Very cool that... Very good art, too. This is incredible art. Yeah. Probably not good enough in Gladiator. It's 8 mana after all. But wow. I'm glad this has a reprint because this was very expensive. It's kind of outmodded in Commander now, but you know, people like having their Plaguewins. Even though this is targeted. It's so funny. You in particular. Fuck you in particular. Pitiless Carnage with some incredible Richard Kane Ferguson artwork. 3 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy any, or sorry, sacrifice any number of permanents you control, then draw that many cards. And then has plot. 1 black, black. I would rather play a Bontu, the God Eternal Bontu, or the Malevolent Witch Kite. Like, there are cards that are just creatures that want to sack permanents and draw that many cards. Or Corvold, right? Those kind of cards would be... they're more in line with what I would want to play. Of like, hey, I'm going to play this big idiot that also just sacks my other big idiots. And I'm playing this one in particular because, well, my creature deck or my deck based around sacrificing a bunch of permanents also is likely to have cards to get back these permanents. The fucking music. That said, being able to plot this and then cast it on a second Sunrise turn is pretty interesting. Big fan of that. That's some heat right there. But I imagine that's a little too niche. Just use Zurin Orb instead. Or just Corvold and... I don't know. You're already drawing a whole bunch of stuff. Cool card, though. I'm going to go to the washroom really quickly. Just soak in the fact that we now have Reanimate in Gladiator. A card, mind you, that was too powerful for them to include in the Jumpstart set. And now here we are. Hello, thank you for the patience. Yeah, the music is important for this reanimate. Yeah, reanimate. 1 black sorcery. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. This card's cracked. Played in reanimator. Played in not reanimator. Honestly, just playing this in like blue-black control or like mid-range. Black X mid-range. Yeah, it's this card's busted. You know when this card's really good? When it's returning any creature with mana value greater than 1. Should you play it in 4-color blood? Yeah. You got ETBs? Play it in black decks. This card's messed up. This card is genuinely messed up. We also have a Traxa in our format. Like, there's... Oh, boy. All right. And Gristlebrand. That's... Oh, and Faithless Looting. You can go Faithless Looting, reanimate Gristlebrand. Okay. Ooh. Rush of Dread. 1 black for sorcery. You choose one because it's got spree or more. +1, target opponent sacrifices half the creatures they control rounded up. +2, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand rounded up. +2, target opponent loses half their life rounded up. This card's very expensive and bad. I would recommend only playing this card in Commander. And then if you're playing this card in Commander, you're kind of a jerk. Loses half their life rounded up. I guess this combos with Bloodletter of Aclazotz. But like, then you gotta play Bloodletter of Aclazotz and then resolve this? I don't know. I think there's gotta be something better to do than this. Yeah, wound. I mean, they're all the wound reflections. It's so much mana. It does chain Bloodletter into this, which is kind of nice for standard, but I don't know. I think there are better things that we can do in Gladiator. You realize that Gladiator is a format with Swords to Plowshares, Brainstorm, Mana Drain, Lightning Bolt. Like, we are going to, I think we are pretty close. If not through this, certainly with MH3, we're going to enter a whole new age of Gladiator, where we have all the fetches and Prismatic Vista. Christ, it's gonna be something. Ooh, I mean, surgical extraction doesn't matter for us, but Thoughtseize. We have a new Thoughtseize art, so I don't have to use the stupid Amonkhet one. Hell yeah. Glad of it. We talked about all these cards. Yeah. We haven't talked about this card, but it's not great. On to red. Ooh, more horses? Why do I keep doing that? Hold on. Calamity, Galloping Inferno. 4 red for a 4/6 legendary horse mount with haste. Whenever Calamity, Galloping Inferno attacks while saddled, you choose a non-legendary creature that's saddled it this turn and create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the end step. Next end step. Repeat this process once. Saddle 1. I am going to build a horse deck that is just so long. The never-ending horse deck. Like, it's just... Oh, that also didn't sound very good coming out of my mouth. I gotta stop. I don't know what it is about today. I mean, look at this horse. Pretty cool horse. Horse is so long. Collective Defiance and Crackle with Power are both legal. Caught in the Crossfire. I'm not super excited about that card. Why do I keep doing this? This card's kind of funny. Dead-Eye Duelist. What? That's just Megan Fox. But hold on. That's just Megan Fox. 1 and a red for a 1/3 human assassin with reach. Pay 1, tap, Dead-Eye Duelist, deals 1 damage to target opponent. Kind of funny. Little pinging creature. Can't actually hit the opponent stuff. This card's going to be annoying. I'm excited to do a draft where I draft like 5 copies of this card and just commit a non-stop crimes. We talked about the Ruckus. Oh my god, Electro Dominance. Electro Dominance. Oh no, Electro Dominance. I was thinking of Electro Potence. Fling. Bunch of cards that we've talked about that aren't great. Highway Robbery. 1 in a red sorcery. You may discard a card or sack a land. If you do, draw 2 cards. This card's kind of interesting. I don't actually hate it for a Reanimator deck that's on red, because there are times where you want to use your mana early and you don't yet have the card that you want to put in the graveyard. Like being able to put it on layaway seems pretty interesting. You don't get countered. Yeah, and you can't get hosed by counters. Like the fact that it's not an additional cost. I think that's pretty exciting. Yeah, big fan. Yeah, you just play this early. You cast it. If you don't have the thing to discard, you could just blot it and just wait until later on. Great. It is sorcery speed, but you know, that's fine. We've talked about all these. Talked about the lizard. Talked about the port raiser. Oh yeah, this is the card where I thought that this might be the best common in the set, but I'm sure there's something that ends up being better. Mostly as a joke that typically we've seen the best cards in the set being 3 mana 2/2s that bring friends. Prickly Pear, 3 mana 2/2 in red. When it ETBs, you make a 1/1 mercenary token. Yeah, it's a good name. Cool card. Won't see play in the formats we're talking about. No! Fuck! I closed the music. Now we'll never hear Tchaikovsky's Rootin' Tootin' soundtrack. Well, you reset the volume too. Oh, I got there. Don't worry. I control-shifted T. I remember it now. These all kind of stink. This one's kind of funny. Return the Favor. Red instant with Spree. +1. Copy target instant spell or sorcery. Copy target instant spell, sorcery spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. You can choose new targets with a copy, or change the target of a target spell or ability with a single target. So it's either a 3 mana fork, 3 mana misdirection, or 3 mana give me your triggered ability. It'd be pretty hilarious if you get somebody's Thoracle with this. Like they cast Thoracle and then you're like, okay, I'm going to cast Return the Favor. And then copy this and then hold priority Tainted Pact. Kind of funny. Good art too. Talked about all these cards. Skewer the Critics. Ooh, Skullcrack. Skullcrack for 1 in a red instant. Players can't gain life this turn. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Deals 3 damage to target player or planeswalker. Skullcrack, not that bad. It can't hit creatures, which might be a little bit of a turnoff for some of the red pilots. But if you want more, just burn. And burn that is going to be able to, like, maybe help out against, I don't know, surviving a Dream Trawler, or God forbid you run into some of the people still playing Baneslayer and Lyra. Yeah, pretty cool. It's interesting. The more cards that we get like this, the more there'll be more of a divide between the different ways that you can build mono red in Gladiator. So that's neat. It's always cool to get more cards like this. Talked about you talked about all these cards, and yeah, okay, on to green. Talked about these. Some of these are kind of bad. Clear Shot, it's back. Force of Vigor. It's funny that we got the green force. Not really a pretty cool card for Timeless, but not what I would deem a main deck card in Gladiator. But it's cool that we got exactly Force of Vigor. You got a weird centaur that's not that great. You got the overrun. Giant beaver. 4 mana 4/4 beaver mount with vigilance. And whenever it attacks while saddled, you put a 1/1 counter on a target creature that's saddled this turn. Saddle 3. That's a hell of a beaver. Hell of a beaver. Sorry, just replying to someone. Yeah, giant beaver. It's nice to see beavers. Nice to see some Canadian cards. Good Canadian cards. Gold Vein Hydra. X and a green for a 0/0 Vigilance Trample Haste. Gold Vein Hydra enters the battlefield with X counters on it. When it dies, you create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to its power. What the fuck? What is this? So big. This is such a big... What a jerk. What an absolute jerk. So, like, playing this early, like, again, these cards scale quite well, obviously. They're X spells. When you play this as a curve filler, as like a 2 mana, putting 2 mana to 3 mana into X, then the body isn't super relevant, but it means that you're playing it early enough that if it dies, you are going to set yourself up for your bigger plays. In formats like Standard, the first one pays into the second one, right? And then if you play this late, then you're just going to dump, 5 mana in to get like a 5/5 Vigilance Trample Haste. All of it, keeping in mind that there are decks that care about counters, that there are decks that just have a bunch of mana acceleration that can play this. Yeah, this card rules. Big fan of this card. Big fan of this card. Oh. Did we talk about the Ornery Tumblewag? 2 and a green for a 2/2 Brushwag Mount. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Oh. Whenever it attacks while saddled, double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature and saddle for 2. Oh, this card's good. Wait, what the hell? This card's good. Green-white counters. Green X counters. Green-white X counters. It's pretty powerful. This ability is just kind of cracked. Right? And the fact that you can double the counters on target creature, meaning that you can buff up something else to make it easier to saddle, right? You can play this, make your 1/1 into a 2/2. It can now saddle the Ordinary Tumblewag. And then next turn, you put a counter on it, attack, and then double the number of counters on it. So you are then attacking for 4. Like, the play patterns with this card are great. Incredible. Yeah, you can play counters in Canlander. There are a bunch of different ways of doing it. Last year, through Yellow Jackets, was it last year or the year before that? Through the YJ Canlander tournaments, we had 2 different counters decks with completely different builds getting through. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. Talk about all this. Ooh, yeah. This card, I'm stoked about this card for 2 reasons. 1, means that I'll probably enjoy drafting Arena Cube more. And 2, I think Pest Infestation is just a underrated Magic card. XX outside of Cube. Like, I think it's a card that should maybe see a bit more play in, like, bug control in Canlander. Or, like, Bant control. Like, it's just make a bunch of idiots is just a relevant thing to do. Being able to destroy, Urza Sagas and whatnot. Also pretty nice. Yeah, Pest Infestation. So XX green sorcery. Destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. Create twice that many 1/1 pest tokens with when this creature dies, gain 1. What about Gladiator? I think this card is going to be Gladiator playable. There are a lot of artifacts and certainly a lot of enchantments running around. Games can go on longer. You can dump all your mana to make an entire army of tokens. There are creature combo decks that care about making a bunch of tokens and sacrificing creatures. Yeah, like playing this in the like sacrifice like Corvold style deck or in an Aristocrats deck or any kind of green deck with mana acceleration. Like, yeah, this card's great. Heavy hitter of a Magic card. Do we already have Primal Command or did I dream this? Because there's Primal Command. Very funny artwork. We have Primal Command. Yes, we have Primal Command. Okay, great. Talked about all these cards. Escape Shift we talked about. Armadillo we talked about. Tornado. We already have Tornado. Creature. Trash the Town. I haven't seen this one. 1 green instant with Spree, +2, put 2/1/1 counters on target creature, +1, target creature gains trample, +1 until end of turn until end of turn target creature gains, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards? 2 mana instant speed, draw 2? Huh. Put 2 counters on target creature. 3 mana instant speed, buff something. This card is interesting. Where it's hard to find room to play this card, though. You know? Like, what card are we cutting for this? What deck? Like, I can think of decks where I want to play this, but then am I going to have room to play this kind of card? Could maybe play it in, like, the blue-green, like, people trying to build blue-green Sorensen and Gladiator. Drawing 2 cards, that's a lot of cards. Trample is not nothing, too. Just letting your Goyf get through. They make these awkward blocks, and then all of a sudden, you're dealing like 5 damage to them and drawing 2 cards. That's kind of nice. Yeah, okay. I'm into it. I mean, I don't think I'm into it, but, you know. I'm more into it than I thought I would be. On to Gold, which has the highest collection of cards that we give a hoot about. Hold on. I mean, a big one here is we got Abrupt Decay. We don't have Abrupt Decay, right? Do we have Abrupt Decay? We don't have Abrupt Decay. Yeah, we talked about the Outline Liberator. I think Liberator's better. Yeah, we don't have Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay. Green or black, instant, can't be countered, destroy target non-land permanent, mana value 3 or less. Great. Love it. Card's fucked. Nice Steel Leaf Champion. Nice Lelia. Oh, you played a Banishing Light or a Pull from the Mistmoon? Yeah. Oh, Teferi 3. Cha-cha. What did you play? Oh, you played a Nettlecyst? Yeah. Nice Ward. Wow. This card's great. This will see a ton of play. Oh, is there Rutstein flavor text? Local purveyor Honest Rutstein clarifies, strengthens no refunds policy. All right. Akul the Unrepentant. Jesus, this art goes hard. This is like 80s art. Like, the card on here looks like 80s art. The actual artwork itself looks more modern than that, but this card rules. Black, red for a 5/5. Wait, what? Black, red for a 5/5 legendary Scorpion Dragon Rogue with flying and trample. Sack 3 other creatures. You may put a creature card from your hand into play. Activate his own. What? I do not remember this card. That's okay. So that's a big ask because you need to have you need to have 3 other creatures, right? This is a big shithead of a magic card. Maybe if you have the fact that you can sacrifice non-token creatures, like the floor. Let's talk about this card from the ground up. The floor is it's a 4 mana 5/5 flying trample creature. That's pretty good. If you have tokens lying around or cheap creatures that you can cash in, great. Then you can utilize those to cheat a creature from your hand into play. Could be another like aristocrat style card. Could be Traxa. You could maybe try this in the Rakdos Rihanna mid-range. Although I imagine that deck... Like, the issue with this card is that it's asking for a lot in order to do something that this deck can now do through Reanimate and other cards. Like, this is a tough one. I imagine this card will show up on coolness factor alone and will win games off the back of just unchecked 5/5 flying trample. But also... getting a weird sneak attack off of it as well is pretty interesting. It's enough to make me want to play this card outside of dedicated tokens or attrition-y style, like, well, not attrition-y. Outside of dedicated tokens / aristocrat style decks, I would be interested in trying this out in the Rakdos Rihanna mid-range style deck too. Sneaking out an Atraxa with this card is pretty nice. But also just like cashing in some bullshit that you have for a I don't know, for like a City Stalker Connoisseur or a City, what is it? City Stalker Connoisseur? Cashing in for that, or just like Goldspan Dragon, also kind of nice. Yeah, it's an outlaw. Cool card. Anguished Unmaking, we already have. Talked about Annie. Annie joins up, we haven't talked about. 1 red, a green, and a white for a legendary enchantment. ETBs 5 damage target creature, Planeswalker, and opponent controls. And if a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that trigger additional time. Yeah, all right. Cool Panharmonicon that just domes something. This might actually see Gladiator play. Unironically. Maybe even Canlander play. Like, it's expensive, but... 4 mana, kill your thing, and then double a triggered ability of one of my legends? Or any legend coming through? Yeah, I could see this card actually seeing play. Like, certainly there are Gladiator decks, like the Bard class decks and the Naya Legends and whatnot. Yeah, I could see this card causing some commotion. Yeah. Empty Dust, welcome back for the 30th month. How many backers years is this? 30? We don't have a 30. Hey Sibwow, can we make 30 months the backers year? Please and thank you. And thank you, Emptiness, for the support. Talked about this card. Back for No More, we already have. Talked about all these cards. Bedevil, we've talked about. Oh, yeah. Breaches. This card is so funny to me. This card is so funny. Also, we're not listening to the JFK inauguration speech. Breaches the Blast Maker. 1 blue and a red for a 3/3 legendary goblin pirate with menace. And whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you may sack an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. When you win the flip, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. When you lose the flip, Breaches the Blastmaker deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. Pretty cool magic card. It's interesting because the artifact decks can double spell pretty easily and also just have a plethora of things that you can throw in. God forbid your second spell is like, I don't know, anything. Like, it's just, imagine casting, I'm going to walk you through a very reasonable scenario of I cast a 3 mana spell. Like, I can't even think of a specific 3 mana spell. But let's just say I cast Divination, right? If I cast Divination with this card and I win the flip, I get to draw 4 cards. And that feels insane. That feels absurd. That is, I can't believe I've got to do this. If I lose the flip, I still get my spell, and then my Divination just domes something for 3. Now, that's pretty powerful. Even though there is some randomness to it, both outcomes are incredible. And in fact, there are spots where the outcome is going to be the same either way, right? Like, play my burn spell, my Molten Impact, right? Deal 4 to something, and I won the flip, so I get to deal 4 to 2 different things, or 8 to 1 thing. And then I lose the flip, and it's like, oh, well, now I get to deal 4 to 1 thing and 2 to your small thing, or 2 to the dome, or whatever. Yeah, I think this card's pretty good. It might need a little... This card would love Thoughtcast. When we get Thoughtcast on Arena, this card is really just going to hum. I mean, obviously, playing this card with Thought Monitor is quite good. You cast your Thought Monitor. If heads, you get 2 Thought Monitors and draw 4. If tails, you get a Thought Monitor and you dome something for 7 damage. That's pretty absurd. When do you declare targets for the coin loss? So there's a triggered ability of you casting a spell, and you flip the coin. Or you can then, sorry, there's a triggered ability of you casting a spell, and then you get to sack the artifact or not. And let's assume you do, you flip the coin as a game action. Then there's a triggered ability that says you've won the flip, copy that spell. Or there's a triggered ability that says, hey, you've lost the flip, deal that damage, and select the target. Yeah, pretty cool card. Pretty cool card. How come the William Tell Overture is not kicking in? Come on, Rossini. This one is very funny to me. Cactus Folk Sure Shot. It's also just it's funny and sad in a variety of ways, because it really there's a larger conversation to be had about how this set handles the indigenous people, or the lack thereof, and it's kind of a clusterfuck. That aside, you got a 4-mana 4/4 Reach Ward 2 at beginning of combat on your turn. Other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain Trample and Haste, and that's pretty cool. Wheeler, they said there were no indigenous people. What a great way of getting around this. What a cool and thoughtful way of dealing with this. It's a cactus guy. Yeah, this card, I imagine it's not punchy enough for Gladiator, but I feel like this card is going to be pretty popular in Commander. Holy shit. Cruel Ultimatum. Blue, blue, black, 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 red, red. Sorcery. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, loses 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, and then gain 5 life. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, let's, let me tell you about Cruel Ultimatum. If you have not cast this card, you are missing out. You are missing out. I'm going to play the shit out of this card in Grixis control. I'm going to maybe think of a way to play this card in an Omnitel deck, or a play this card in a Mizzix's Mastery style deck. This card is so messed up when it's resolved. Like, it basically wins you the game. The Edict is not what it used to be, mind you, but mind twisting them, doming them for 5, drawing 4 cards and gaining 5 life is pretty good. It's pretty good. Hell, I might even try to play this in like a 4-color deck. 4-color control with Cruel Ultimatum and Inspired Ultimatum. Double vision, baby. If Cube comes back with double vision and Cruel Ultimatum, ooh. Yeah, we're golden. We're golden. Decimates in this cube, or in this set, which is kind of funny. Because they always have to say, like, hey, you can't cast the spell unless you have legal choices for all the targets. I don't think Decimate is going to show up. It's a bit too much to ask, especially because like this is the kind of card in 1v1 that if you have it in your hand and you're staring down like a 4/4 or 3/3 creature and you just can't kill it, feels really bad. I think I talked about the bear. Ariette the Beguiler. 1 white, blue, and a black for a 4/4 legendary creature human warlock with lifelink. And whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that mana value's aura, gain control of that permanent for as long as that aura is attached to it. Holy shit. This card's a 4 mana 4/4 lifelink. That's big. That's so big. I mean, there's some other text on this too that is not relevant in 1v1. But this is big. I mean, it's not playable, but it's big. Woo! Fractured Identity. 3 white and a blue for a sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it card. This card rules. Play this magic card in your blue-white decks, in your blue-white X decks. It's very good. It's incredibly impactful. It is get rid of your thing, make my, and get a copy of it. If you've played this card in Vintage Cube, it's certainly worse now than it was previously. But this card was an absolute house in Vintage Cube for a long time. Certainly is still a powerhouse in like Legacy Cube or whatever. Yeah, this magic card rules. You should play this card. It's very strong. Very strong. There's a Hindering Light reprint. White and a blue instant. Counter target spell that targets you or a permanent you control. Draw a card. Very weird. This is like from Alara. Shards of Alara. Draws a card. Really awkward when you have this card in your hand. Your opponent just plays a 3 mana 3/3. Humiliate's back. Hypothesizzle is back. Ionize is back. I forgot what you do. Gem Lightfoot. Sky Explorer. 2 white and a blue for a 3/3 human scout. Flying Vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card. I mean, cool Pauper Commander. Did I talk about you? Laughing Jasper Flint. 1 black and a red for a 4/3 legendary lizard rogue. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those cards. They're getting rid of Viashinos? Like, have they said they're getting rid of Viashinos? Oh. I mean, okay. I guess. Sure, why not? They're still Viashinos, they're just creature type lizards. Yeah, okay. Alright. Viashino is going to be like Leonin. Or like Leonin. Okay. Exile the top X cards target opponent's library or the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast those. I mean, this is kind of funny. It's like a 4 mana 4/3 that just, if you have it by itself, you just get to cast one of those spells. If you have more creatures, you just get to cast a card from among them. I think this card's pretty all right. It can't play lands. You can't play lands, right? Yeah, you can't play lands, which is important. What do you mean the audio track is unavailable? You were playing the audio track. I heard the audio track. It was available. Basically, Viashino cards work with Bloomburrow. Yeah. That's the reason. You know, I had this thought cross my mind when I was thinking about Magic cards. And it's so straightforward. but it also felt like a thought that had not been verbalized. Where we have fewer and fewer planeswalkers in the sets and in the stories. And obviously, a lot of planeswalkers lost their spark. Things have changed. And we've moved away from planeswalkers as being the primary focus of the game. And I was just kind of thinking about that. And the reason is because you can't have a planeswalker as a commander. Right? Like that's the one of the big reasons. I mean, I guess planeswalkers have other issues with them, but just having that thought of just sitting there being like, oh, yes, I know Minsk and Boo. Every one of you Natasha Bedingfield, just like, yeah, well, it's difficult to design a whole bunch of planeswalkers in the same set. But yeah, you can't have them as your commander. And commander is the biggest driving force behind Magic the Gathering. And here you go. I don't think it's the primary motivator. I don't know. Call me cynical, but I think the primary motivator for a company is to always just make as much money as possible. And like, there are non-cynical reasons tied to that as well, right? I wouldn't go as far as to say it's ruining Magic. But yeah, it's, it makes sense. I'm not even saying it as a negative thing necessarily. I'm saying it as just like an observation of like, huh, yeah, that makes sense. That's ruined paper Magic for me specifically. Well, that's fair. Oh, your store got rid of Draft. A third weekly commander night? Oh. Unfort. We talked about you. We talked about you. We talked about this. We've talked about all these cards. All these cards. We haven't talked about the lesbian. Obeka, Splitter of Seconds. 1 blue, black, and a red for a 2/5 legendary Ogre Warlock with Menace. And whenever Obeka deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. So this card's going to be like the most popular commander in the set, right? I don't know if Obeka's canonically lesbian, but I mean, if you are on Magic the Gathering Twitter, you're damn right she's lesbian. That or she has just been adopted immediately by by the lesbian community. Yeah, she's pretty strong, powerful, big ass. 2/5 is difficult to deal with. Menace is pretty good. Menace and Grixis colors, terrifying. You cannot double block her profitably. It will not happen. And you might even have a hard time double blocking it all. And then just your deck is filled with cool upkeep cards. Great. Suspend cards. Like this is such a unique build around commander. Pretty cool for that. Pretty cool for that. Talked about Okos. Talked about all these cards. Rakdos joins up. This is a new one. 3 black and a red for a legendary enchantment. When Rakdos joins up, enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to play with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it. Okay, so it's a 5 mana legendary enchantment that's going to zombify something and make it big. And then whenever a legendary creature you control dies, Rakdos joins up, deals damage equal to that creature's power to target opponent. So I reanimate my Gristlebrand. And then if it dies, they take 9. You reanimate your Yargle and Multani. And then they die. Oh my god. That's just a one-shot. Right? You reanimate Yargle and Multani. It comes back as like a 20 power creature. And then you just sack it. and they take 20. That's very funny. That's very funny. Hell yeah. Cool. I mean, it's a 5 mana reanimation spell with upside. Probably see play. We talked about all of you. We talked about all of you. Seraphic Steed. Green and a white for a 2/2 unicorn mount with first strike and lifelink. And whenever it attacks while saddled, you make a 3/3 white angel token with fly. And saddle for 4. 2 mana 2/2 first strike lifelink is already just like super annoying to deal with. Like it's miserable to attack into, to block. It's pretty good. And then God forbid you can actually just start saddling, because you just convert your grounded creature that is ideally mucking up combat into a 3/3 angel. It is the Tri-Star Well, the Tri-Star Pictures is a Pegasus, right? This is not a Pegasus. I mean, it's obviously trying to look, the clouds are wings and it's an angel horse. I'm a hater though. This isn't a Pegasus. I'm the guy that looks at Great Tusk and says this isn't related to Dawn Fan at all. There's nothing in the Pokedex that says this is related to Dawn Fan. Unicorn? Unicorns don't have wings. This doesn't have flying. I'm a hater. Warcrow's got my back. Fan P overrated? Dr. Petrichor, I will give you an opportunity to take that back. Because in this house, we do not shit talk the Dawn Fan line. You got it? We do not. Look, I'm one of those few streamers that does not have like a fucking wall of Funko Pops or anything. That doesn't mean I'm above owning a cute little plushie of Fan P. Thank you for taking it back. You can shit talk great. Yeah, you can shit talk Great Tusk. Absolutely. These are all reprints, or we've already talked about them, except for we already have Villainous Weld. Void Slime. I don't believe we got Void Slime. The Funkos are in my bedroom. I did actually throw out the Yu-Gi-Oh Funko Pop. It was a what? I had a Kaiba and a Dark Magician Girl Funko Pop that somebody had given to Loading Ready Run, and they were just lying around the office to give away. I'm like, I'll take this. Is there some kind of trend with gay guy content creators and owning a large number of Pokemon plushies? I don't have a large number of them. I have 3. I have 4. Is a thing. Disallows a thing? Yeah, this is just redundancy if you want a second disallow in this blue-green flash deck that I'm going to build. Do the mimes not count? No, the mimes belong to the office now. If I got rid of the mimes at the office, people would be like, where'd the mimes go? Wily Duke, a teen hero. 1 green and a white for a 4/3 legendary creature human ranger with vigilance. And whenever Wily Duke becomes tapped, you gain 1 life and draw a card. This is a very cool Magic card. Also incredible artwork. Just absolutely astounding artwork. Holy shit. This rules. I don't think it's going to be Gladiator playable, but it's a very interesting card. Obviously, this is designed to saddle or crew or mount, right? It has high power and can technically attack and then crew something else. I don't know how, I don't know what benefits that's going to get other than mounts that have static abilities. Yeah, you can convoke this card. There's some cool stuff with this card. Cool commander too. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna give my overall thoughts on the final stream. I think we have maybe one more preview stream to do, but I gotta tell you, I really like the new commander cards in here. The new legends, the brand new legends are great. I think they're incredible. Yuma, Wily, Joaquin. Like, I think this is one of the coolest commanders we've received in so long. But it is, and it leads me to, like, I'm just kind of confused as to why we need all these other fuckers here. Like, the original, the commanders that are brand new on this set are so dope. And I just don't think you need all the other ones showing up. Like, even, or if they're showing up, have them really, like, they feel like they've really settled in. Like, Honest Rutstein, great. That's how you do it. Innistrad is fucked. Old Rediger here needs to find a way to make money elsewhere. You know? Like, that fits. The rest of these schmucks, I don't know. It's just, it's so much. Ooh, Contagion Engine? Yeah, this card's a house. 6 mana artifact, ETB, put a 1/1 counter, -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls, and then you can proliferate twice. Card's very cool. Yeah, it's all very fan servicey and, like, I mean, not to talk about Funko Pops again. But the Funko Popification of Magic the Gathering. 2 mana 1/2, search for a basic land or a desert, put it on top. I mean, I guess it's a mercenary. I don't think there's any other new cards. Unless the lands changed? No, not really. We still have Dust Bowl. We have the fast lands that we already had. We have Prismatic Vista. I think that's it. Is this not featuring the big score? Oh, it was featuring the big score. Okay, great. Okay. Cool. I'm trying to think if we want to talk about, because there's other new cards that have been previewed. We could talk about those. This is going to be a bit of a shorter stream because after this stream, I'm going to go and record the North 100 set review podcast for this stream. Yeah, we could just pull this up. I assume it would have been updated up to around here. These cards we've all seen. Cards we've all seen. We have Murder, which is just called Homicide. Yeah, these are all old cards. Vanishing Verse. Ooh, now we have some big score cards that we have not talked about. Substitute Synthesizer. 2 and a blue for an artifact. When it ETBs, you scry 2. And then whenever another artifact with mana value 3 or more enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 0/0 Construct token. So this card by itself does not really do anything. It's 3 mana ETB scry 2. And then any other artifact you play comes with a Construct, which is kind of messed up. This one's a very interesting Magic card to me because I typically tell people to shy away from this type of effect because it doesn't do anything by itself, but it's an artifact. And it doesn't matter how the artifact enters the battlefield. It's just going to start pooping out incredibly powerful tokens. So I'm willing to give this card a shot. Because while it doesn't work well with obviously eggs or tokens themselves, like it's not, wouldn't make sense if a token came into play and made more tokens. But like any card that can start producing constructs is worth looking at. Especially because it sets up itself, right? The Scry 2, it's not nothing. It basically says like, okay, you play this. Now find your turn 4 play or whatever. Yeah, I could see this popping up. Legion Foundry. 1 red for an artifact. When it ETBs, deals 2 damage to any target. And then pay 2, tap, sack an artifact, make a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. This one's kind of interesting. It shoots Collector Roof. This one shoots Collector Roof. You can cast it off Luris. And then you can just start making 3/3s. If you have Luris, this is kind of like a shitty FTK. Right? You play it, shoot something, you sack itself, and then you get to replay it. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm interested in this card. I would try this out in it doesn't have to be oof, right? Pretty sure it's another. This doesn't say another though. Are you telling me this is lying to me? Are you telling me this is lying to me? Google Translate says so. All right, well, I'll check the God book later and I'll tell you. Wait, no, I won't. Parody. Oh, yeah, this weirdo. League of Legends character, the key to everything. Green, blue, and a red for a 1/2 legendary Beast Noble with Ward 1. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of card types among other non-land permanents you control. You may play those cards this turn. Okay. 3 mana 1/2, Ward 1. That's a pretty terrible stat line. And it's difficult to cast, right? 3 colors. Upkeep, exile the top X cards of your library. X is the number of card types among other non-land permanents. So you need to have additional cards. Need to have additional card types. I'm going to say this card is really bad in 1v1 and is going to be probably pretty strong in Commander because it's just going to let you play a whole bunch of cards. And it's not even play one of those cards, it's just play those cards in general. The Baby Yoda effect in every piece of AAA media needs to end already. Smalls Bigman. Yeah, sure is, Commander. You doing all right, Wormy? Ooh. Grand Abolisher. That's a good pickup. 2 mana for a 2/2 human cleric. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells, activate artifacts, or creatures and enchantments, that kind of thing. Yeah, Grand Abolisher. Hell of a magic card. Good reprint. We'll see some play in... whatchamacallit? Gladiator. Death and Taxes. Human stacks. This card's really strong. Cool card to have. You think because you've mapped the land, you own the land. You own an idea, nothing more. God damn. Let's fucking go. Hell of a line of text. Hell of a line of text. Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time. So, this is probably a case of worst person you know. I mean, not to... Look, I don't know Smalls Bigman. But they are on Facebook, so there's already something wrong with them. Like, there are other tropes out there. There are other stories out there where you have... 2 people coming together to adopt a kid or, you know, to act as the guardians or parents for the baby, the protectors. But this is also just Baby Yoda. It can be both. That's fine. It's okay to admit that. That's not it's not a bad thing. But it is Baby Yoda. When did Mandalorian come out? Like 2019, 2020? Oh yeah, this is Baby Yoda. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. God, I hate having cute creatures in my very rough and tough card game. I read the story. Oh, I haven't read part 2 yet. I read part 1. Or the epilogue. It was all right. It's not my kind of thing, so I didn't mind it, but no. Oh, we haven't talked about Lotus Ring. Lotus Ring, 3 mana artifact equipment, indestructible. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, has vigilance, and tap, sack this creature, add 3 mana of any one color. Equipped for 3. Cool commander card. Too expensive for other ones. Very funny. +3/+3 and vigilance is a big fuck you. And yeah, it's a free sack your board. The more people hate on loot, the more actively shit on Fibblethip. I mean, I think Fibblethip needs to be actively shit on more. I am a Fibblethip hater as well. Mostly because it was such a... No, I'm sick of Fibblethip is just too... It's too forced. You know? It's too forced for me. Aboria, welcome back for the 55th month. Good afternoon, Wheeler. Hope you are doing good and well. I finally have a complete and beautiful Rakdos mana base for Paper Canlander. Hell yeah. God bless that new Monkey Goblin in the set. There's a lot of Monkey Goblins in this set. But I'm glad to hear it. Thank you for the support. God bless Badlands. Am I right? I think it's appropriate we're listening to Chopin's Funeral March here. World Walker Helm. 3 and a blue artifact. If you would create one or more artifact tokens, instead create those many tokens plus an additional map token. And then pay 1 and a blue, tap, create a token that's a copy of target artifact token you control. This is kind of cool. Like, when I cast my artifact, I make additional artifacts. That's a very powerful line of text. The downside is that, unlike Forensic Gadgeteer, the map tokens, while good, do not draw you cards. And that's a bit of a downside. The fact that you can copy a construct with this is pretty nice. The fact that it's just, you know, even if it's doubling up on clues, not the end of the world. I think there's enough here to test it out. Again, much like that other 3 mana card that makes constructs, artifact cards get away with a bit of goofiness just off the back of being, well, goofy synergistic artifacts. Like that's what we're signing up for, you know? Memory Vessel. 3 red for an artifact. Tap, exile Memory Vessel. Each player exiles the top 7 cards of their library. Until your next turn, players may play cards they exiled this way, and they can't play cards from their hand. Activate only as a sorcery. I don't think this card's actually that great. And let me tell you why. The power of Memory Jar comes from a variety of places. I'm not going to use this time to tell you why Memory Jar is broken. I'm going to use this time to tell you why this card is not Memory Jar, and why all the aspects of it that are different from Memory Jar end up benefiting your opponent quite a bit. Jar is only colorless mana. It's pretty easy to get off of your artifact cards, right? Being able to use this as an instant has some utility with cracking in your upkeep, right? Exiling the cards and not drawing them means that you have a bunch of you lose out on some synergies with Orcish Bowmasters and Childred and Hull Breacher and all those kind of cards. Until your next turn, players can play cards they exile this way, and they can't play cards from their hand. This one's kind of interesting because it bricks their next draw step, but it also just lets them play all of these cards. Like, it just lets them play all the cards that are in their exile, instead of just Jar being like, okay, this is technically symmetrical, but you're not going to get to use the cards. Or the only time the symmetry part kicks in is when it's killing you. And then decks that typically want this kind of card also are going to play selective spells that are then going to get locked away because of the memory vessel saying you can't use this. So I think this card is actually just not good. I mean, maybe it'll show up. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Like it's powerful in what it's doing. And yeah, if you activate this and then win the game immediately, then sure, who cares? But it's just, I think it's certainly fixed memory jar, but also I don't want to play this even if I don't have access to jar, you know? It is funny. Wait, what? I gotta tell you, this is cool. This is really cool. Wow, this is practically memory jar. Not quite as good, but I'll probably try it in Paradox Academy. This is a Canlander player. That's just really cool that you spot Canlander players out in the wild. I mean, the format has grown in popularity by quite a bit. And so it's very neat to see them, even under the comment sections on Facebook or whatever the hell this is. Omen Path Journey. 3 and a green for an enchantment. When it ETBs, search your library for up to 5 land cards that have different names, exile them, and then shuffle. And at the beginning of your end step, you choose a card at random. Omen Path Journey. With Omen Path Journey, you put into play tapped. Very weird. 4 mana enchantment. You find your Dark Depths in your Thespian stage. And then you put Thespian stage into play for the first turn. And then next turn, you put the Dark Depths into play. Or you just get Wasteland them. Next turn, you get Strip Mine. Very weird Magic card. I don't hate it, but it's a bit expensive and a little goofy. I might consider playing this with Maze's End, but oh yeah, it's random, so you don't even get to choose. Even if you get only 2 of them, it's a 50-50. All right, I'm off it. I'm so off it. This card's pretty good, though. Pest Control. White and a black for a sorcery. Destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less, and cycling for 2. Cycling for 2 is great because it just, if this card's not doing anything, at least it's going to draw you a card. And then being able to muck Karnstructs, Clue tokens, Mana Dorks, aggressive starts. I'm thinking about this card in Highlander, getting Moxin, getting Urza Saga tokens, which are just Karnstructs, getting Urza Saga targets, hitting Shadow Spears, Skull Clamp, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, like Deathrite Shaman. There are a lot of really powerful things that this card cleans up. And I imagine it'll see some play in like Esper Control or like Mardu. And then Esoteric Duplicator was our preview card. Cool. So we're all caught up. I imagine there will be one more stream where I cover the cards, but that'll be like a half stream where we also probably do some Vintage Cube on top of that. But we're getting pretty close. Powerful cards, powerful set, too much commander bullshit, and I really wish we focused more on Thunder Junction as opposed to the known quantities that just have shown up. I like the idea of us. One of the parts of Westerns that is really like cool is that oftentimes we don't know a huge amount. We don't have a huge amount of information on the characters. We just have stories that have been told about these characters, or rumors or legends, or we know them for their notoriety, for the crimes they've committed, for the word of mouth or whatever. Or we just pick up information based on, what they look like. Are they, brandishing, like, how'd they get that scar on their face? Whatever, that kind of thing. Oh, Jim, thank you for the raid. Welcome, folks. Glad to have you. Good to see you. I hope you had a good stream. We are talking preview cards for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Although I gotta tell you, we are about to finish. So everybody hop on in. I've got a larger van here that I can take everybody to another spot. Don't worry. Just talking about thoughts on the set. Even though we have a couple more cards to pick up. Yeah, I find that the trope in Westerns where you don't have all the information about these characters outside of stuff that has been passed on through word of mouth, rumors, wanted boards, whatever, to be a really strong hook for the genre, right? Or, you know, the like guy shows up and is like, are you I don't know, are you Two Guns Wheeler? And it's like, depends on who's asking. You know, it's like, I heard you did so and so back in this place. It's like, oh, that life isn't about me now. I'm just doing the plot of Unforgiven now. I don't have any candy in the van. I do have air conditioning and plenty of iPads to play Fortnite on, or Minecraft, Fortnite. Some chocolate eggs. There might be some leftover Easter candy in the between the cushions that you can grab. Yeah, I kind of wish they focused on that more than like focus more on these characters than, you know, this. A little of this is fine, you know, but I'm more into it for you know, the world. Anyways, I'm going to call it there because I have to go record the set review for North 100. I will be streaming again tomorrow. I know this was a shorter stream. Tomorrow's going to be a lot longer. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the raid. I'll make sure they go to a good home. And yeah. Go to call it there. Let's who's online? Who's on first? Caleb literally just started streaming. Great. You want to go watch Cube? Caleb's deck has a Become Immense in it. Is there a Berserk? All right, I'm dropping you off in a Berserk stream. No, we're gonna watch people cast Berserk and Vintage Cube. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay, bye.